Hi, this is Thoughts on UX. And my name is Tony Hyun, and I'm the Director of UX, UI, and CXA at Royal Cyber Digital Consulting. Now, I want to share something a little personal about myself. I'm actually in the market for a new pair of skis, not just any skis. I'm looking for a pair of alpine touring skis. They're all the rage. And I mentioned this because I went to my favorite site and thought I could find an entire selection to choose from. I tried browsing, then searching, and came up with nothing. I thought this can't be right. I am such a huge fan of this site, so I did the unthinkable. I went to a product list page and scrolled through gazillions of results until I happened to see a brand that I recognized that sold AT skis. Now, most customers honestly wouldn't do this. Most customers would just find another site. This is the worst nightmare of anyone in e-commerce. They have a product that customers want, but customers can't find them. Findability, such an odd word, but if your website suffers from poor findability, you may be in for a rough time. Being able to find products, the right products, fast and easy is the lifeblood of any online business. Okay, today we're going to talk about how you can spot problems with findability and, more importantly, what you can do to fix them. We're going to look at a recent project where we were asked to improve the navigation. We'll share the background of the project and explain how we approached the problem and eventually came up with a solution. The goal of today's podcast is to arm you with information so you can begin asking the right questions about your website's findability health. And at the end of the podcast, we'll summarize key takeaways. Okay. Today, we are lucky to have Isha Carr, Digital Experience Design Manager at Laminex, and who is one of the product owners of this project. Isha is a strategic experience designer with a strong creative background in crafting engaging experience both online and in the real world. With a commitment to both personal and professional growth, she's always exploring new ways to innovate and inspire by observing and empathizing with what delights and makes people tick. Okay. We also have Mohan Raj Ashok Kumar, and Mohan is the lead UX researcher and designer on this project. He is a seasoned UX professional with over 14 years of experience blending design and marketing expertise to deliver top-notch digital products and optimize conversion across global markets. Mohan exceeds in aligning user needs with business goals and creating impactful designs and leading UX initiatives for Royal Cyber and Laminex. Okay, let's get started. Okay, Isha, again, thank you so much for being here. Can you give us some background on Laminex, and then please share with us, what were the first warning signs that your customers were struggling finding products? And finally, if you could just list the goals of this project, that would be fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Tony. So let's start with Laminex. Laminex began in a small tin shed in suburban Melbourne 90 years ago, focusing on decorative laminates. Today, we've expanded our range to include modern laminates, joinery systems, wall paneling, timber products, and acrylic surfaces. So while we've grown significantly since 1934, our commitment remains the same, ensuring that every Aussie has access to high-quality products and great design. Our e-commerce platform is one of our key sales channels, with just over 50% of overall sales coming through our website. Our product range is large, varied, and complex, and we service quite distinct customer segments. A one-size approach simply does not cut it, and so we've worked hard to curate experiences that meet the diverse needs of our customers, from product availability right through to understanding what products to specify or select. Over time, we launched new features to help make it easier for our customers to do business with us. We also paid close attention to how information was organized and displayed to our customers. As our product range expanded, so did our challenges with connecting our customers to the right information or browse journeys. We started to notice that what previously worked was no longer hitting the mark. Some of the feedback we received indicated that our customers were experiencing issues with search and navigation. So we immediately looked into how we could optimize those specific experiences through things like synonyms, personalizing content, reorganizing our navigation, and so much more. But the dissatisfaction prevailed. It was only when we dug deeper and reviewed recordings, heat maps, and browse paths that we discovered the underlying issue. Everything they needed to transact with us was right there. Similar to your experience, Tony, everything was right there, but they were not able to intuitively connect and engage with the information without significant effort. So this project was actually part two of a simplification initiative. We'd already consolidated a fragmented browse experience that was quite confusing. Our goal for this phase of the project was to make our content more accessible and helpful without compromising on the technical functionality and performance of our website.
Thanks, Isha. I'm curious, do you think that these issues with your findability grew organically, or was there something specific that happened that caused issues with finding products? For instance, with one client I worked with, they had a terrible problem with their information architecture, which affected their findability. And it actually could be traced back to when their IA became more marketing driven.
Yeah, I think this issue certainly grew over time. So, in an effort to provide options and flexibility to our customers, we also perhaps contributed to choice fatigue and confusion. It's really no small feat to be able to offer the level of detail that we offer on our website. But as the amount of information on our website grew, so did the disconnect. We found ourselves curating specific segments of content that explained the products really, really well and very detailed and specific paths to purchase, but we were not able to connect them as it was technically not feasible to do so. So, for example, in one instance, we discovered that our customers were trying to connect two very different browse journeys, the color and product application, for example, because each one on its own did not quite meet their needs to make a selection. They were both valued, but they weren't enough on their own.
Great, great. Thank you for that. Shifting over to Mohan, can you take us through, your thought process from when you first started working on this project, and how did you systematically approach this problem, and how did you get on the path towards a solution?
Sure thing, Tony. When we got started on this project, I worked closely with the Laminex team that included Isha as well. So we started with a super detailed research report that Isha had put together, which was full of data from tools like Content Square and also real user feedback collected over a very long period of time. And then we also had opportunities to watch some video sessions where we could actually see users struggling to find the products that they needed and then the various routes they took to get there. And these insights were incredibly valuable to start with, meaning they really helped me zero in on the main pain points users were facing. And using these insights, I focused on some of the recurring issues like navigational challenges, trouble finding specific information, and also overall user experience. And followed by this, I began by mapping these pain points to the site's existing structure to figure out where users were actually getting stuck the most. And from there onwards, it was all about breaking down those big problems into manageable steps, meaning we looked at ways to refine the information architecture and tweak the navigation labels to make it easier for the users to find what they were looking for. And once the ideation was done, I worked closely with the Laminex team to develop wireframes that address these issues. So we always made sure that everything we did was rooted to the actual challenges that the users were facing.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mohan. As with any project, you go through this, little periods of revelations. Were there any aha moments when you realized you were really onto something, perhaps a big idea?
Yeah, Tony, we definitely had such moments during the project. And what is interesting is they came from different angles. So one was the power of small, thoughtful design tweaks, and the next is the game-changing impact of AI integration. For the first one, we found that making small, thoughtful design tweaks could really go a long way. For instance, by adding some short and clear description to some of the marketing jargons or using color palettes to the product discovery made a significant improvement in the user experience. So Laminex has a huge range of products, right? So keeping things simple and easy to navigate without overwhelming the users was super important for us. And these changes didn't require a complete redesign. All we had to do was like make minor adjustments to make a big difference in the overall user experience. And the next one is finding out there was a big breakthrough when we started integrating AI tools into our UX processes. We use some AI to analyze user behavior, study personas, and even categorize products more effectively. One moment that really stood out was when we used AI to organize massive list of products. So typically, a task like this would normally take hours if we did it through a traditional method like card sorting, but AI was able to do it in seconds, Tony. Of course, we will always validate what AI had suggested with the real user feedback, but it's been amazing to see how much time we have saved. AI is really helping us bridge that gap between data and design in a way that it feels almost revolutionary. So yeah, it's a mix of small, thoughtful design changes and leveraging AI to speed things up that really helped us tackle the findability issue.
Great, thank you. Obviously, AI is a huge area that we'll probably explore quite a bit in other episodes of Thoughts on UX. Okay, back to you, Isha. Now that you've been through the bulk of the work, was there a moment of clarity or realization that fundamentally changed the direction of the project?
Yeah, so apart from what I mentioned earlier about getting clear on the actual issue, for me, it was also about receiving assurance that our big ideas were possible. The proposed solution required shifting well away from the way we presented information in our navigation, listing pages, and product pages. It was very much about getting over the mental block of, is this even possible? Would we have to change everything, our entire taxonomy? Turns out we did not have to make any radical changes to the taxonomy. Yes, some cleanup has to happen, but it was not as big a blocker as I thought it was going to be. In a nutshell, it was about powering forward with a level of optimism to consider a solution that might not at the onset seem doable. A lot of the thinking went into how we might do this. So it wasn't an easy solution to realize, but having an amazing team on your side to problem solve together made all the difference for us.
Thank you. Hindsight is amazing. When you've actually been through a project and have lived through it and are able to kind of look back. If you had an opportunity to do over, would you change anything?
Great question. So I think feedback is so valuable, but be careful to not fall into the trap of taking it literally. Navigation, for example, might mean one thing to us and a whole other thing to your customers. So critically evaluating each piece of information against actual behavior, be it through recordings or focus groups. It will give you a far better chance of getting to the root cause and resolving it. It really does sound obvious, but it's not hard to succumb to tunnel vision when you're in a rush to get to the bottom of things. It might take you far, and I honestly don't think any form of improvement is a bad thing, but perhaps not quite on the right path. I still do think there's value in hypothesizing and testing optimization ideas, but a key takeaway from me from this entire experience is to look at things at more than one or two angles. Honestly, even two is not enough. You really do have to expand, your point of view and perspective.
Great insights. Mohan, similar question to you. Was there something that happened during the research or even as you got into the design phase that influenced your thinking?
It was really interesting to see during the research that users were already hinting at the solutions we needed. As Don Norman, a well-known design expert, says, it's essential to build on what users are already doing instead of disrupting their routines with entirely new methods. So this really clicked during this project. The users weren't just reporting problems, they were actually showing us how they navigated around them. Their actions clearly held the key to resolving the issues they were facing. I would say designing without user input is like going on a road trip without a map. You might get somewhere, but it probably won't be where you wanted to go. Real users are like the navigators of the design projects, so they are the ones showing us where the challenges lie and often how they solve them. So our job as designers is to really empathize, observe how they naturally find workarounds, and then innovate to create a smoother path for them. We can align design solutions with those user insights so that we are really truly successful.
Thanks, Mohan. So, if you had the opportunity to do over, would you change anything?
Yeah, Tony, if I were to do it again, I think I'd probably look at bringing in user testing a bit earlier. We made a lot of great progress through small iterative changes based on solid research. But I think putting testing with the real users earlier in the design phase might have helped us fine-tune some design decisions sooner. But that being said, our approach of making constant improvements and adjusting as we learned worked really well. I think it's all about finding the right balance between moving quickly and making sure we are heading in the right direction. So to summarize this, I'd say that I would look to bring in testing earlier while still keeping the flexibility and speed we had.
Thanks. Again, great insights, Mohan. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, final question to both of you. What is the single most important piece of advice you would give a person or team considering taking on a project like this? Isha, you want to go first?
Sure thing, Tony. I think it's about talking to your customers. And if you have the tools, look at what they're doing. Look at the data points obsessively and dig deep. As cliched as this is going to sound, nothing is ever what it seems. And collaborate well and often with your team and stakeholders. I got so much value out of bouncing ideas and findings with our project team and stakeholders to gain a different perspective of, where are we going? What are we going to end up doing? What might work, what might not work? Just getting that reassurance and support. It's such an important element to integrate in taking on a project like this. Also, to me, all of this has made the biggest difference in designing a balanced solution. Without customer needs to anchor your design, you may find yourself favoring exciting new technologies or, perceived beneficial designs over what is functionally actually valuable to your customers.
Thank you. That was amazing. Mohan, what about you?
Yeah, Tony, I completely agree with what Isha just said. Always focus on the user. Make sure you involve them early and often. Their feedback will point you in the right direction and help you avoid making costly mistakes, right? And at the same time, we always keep things agile. Be prepared to adjust your approach as you learn more. I think my final note would be like flexibility paired with user-centered design is the secret sauce to a successful project, Tony.
Okay, thank you so much, Isha and Mohan, for your candid and thoughtful responses. I'm sure I could speak for the audience in saying that because of your sharing, I know I would feel more confident in taking on a project like this. Okay, now just a quick summary of what you should take away from this podcast. Number one, understanding why customers are having issues with finding products isn't always obvious. Many times you have to dig deep with research to discover the hidden reasons. All the right information needed to find products can be there, but for some reason, customers can't connect the dots. Okay, number two, sometimes in an effort to please customers, you can actually contribute to, choice fatigue and confusion. You really need a balance of product detail and options with thinking like the customer. Okay, number three, the customer experience can be improved with small changes as well as big ideas. Don't always look for the home run. Thoughtful design improvements, whether big or small, can dramatically improve findability. Number four, feedback. Incredibly valuable, but can be a trap if taken literally. Critically evaluating what you hear and what you see as actual customer behavior is absolutely paramount. I know this is stating the obvious. This is number five. I know this is stating the obvious, but it's often ignored. User input, so aptly described by Mohan, not having a clear idea what customers want or need is like going on a road trip without a map. Okay, that is it for today. Thank you so much to Isha and Mohan for their insights. This is Thoughts on UX.